Channel. Hey, you know what time it is, No Press fam? Welcome everyone to another episode of The Beatdown, the segment where two worlds collide. I'm your host, Class, and my co-host, Biggs. Doing it big, baby, and keeping it 100 subs. As a friendly reminder, if you guys enjoy our content, you know what you could do? You can share, you can like, you can subscribe, or you can turn on your notifications to get the latest episodes. And we want to actually first start off by saying we got this as a recommendation from the comment sections below. So special shout out to SR Striker for recommending this to us. And here we go. We're going to do it for you. I'll be representing Marvel Comics' Xemnu, the First Hulk.
You remind me of the savage beasts I fought on Badoo! Ferocious, brutal, incredibly stupid!
Alright, brief origin story time. Let's get into it. So, it starts off with a random creature just laying face down in a puddle of water. Eventually, an electrician stumbles across it, but this is not an ordinary electrician. This electrician actually is very handy when it comes to mechanical things. Eventually, he decides to take this creature back. Before he takes it back, he actually looks at its size and he calls it the Hulk. Sorry, I should have told you guys that, and that's why he gave it the name the Hulk. So he decides to take Xemnu back to his farm so he can maybe get it to wake up, and then it'd be the first interaction with an extraterrestrial being. So he wakes him up and he asks him, hey, what are you doing here? And Xemnu at first tells him, where he came from, but leaves out a certain amount of details. Eventually, the electrician starts kind of getting a little suspicious with the story. And before he could realize it, Xemnu realizes, hey, I'm juiced up. And then he tells him the true reason why he no longer was on that planet. So it turns out he was escaping from a planet because he was a prisoner in that planet. And this planet kept all the bad ones that wanted to destroy other planets. And Xemnu was one of those baddies. Eventually he escapes, and the electrician tries to figure out a way to stop this, but it's too late. Xemnu has him on a mind control trial run. He wants to see if he can actually control humans' minds, and it turns out he can. So then he puts out a signal that spreads like a virus around the world, and he controls the entire world. And he convinces the world to build him a spaceship so he can go home because he doesn't want to be alone. He wants to be with his people. Unfortunately, this machine would actually destroy half the planet. And that's the brief origin story of Xemnu, the first living Hulk. Fun fact, guys, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee created this character in 1960. And then in 1962, they made the Incredible Hulk. Isn't that fascinating? Alright guys, powers, abilities, and feats. Let's get into them, shall we guys? Alright, he's very knowledgeable of alien technology, as he was able to create his own spacecraft. Was able to mind control an entire planet of humans. We already talked about that. Able to control giant-sized aliens. That's interesting. He could hypnotize people through their television screens. That's terrifying. You can't watch a commercial no more because it might just hypnotize you like the Hypno did. Futurama reference. Powerful enough to mental block Doctor Strange from conjuring any of his magic. That's crazy. And he's one of the Sorcerer Supremes, top dog. Was only able to be held back by Colossus Juggernaut. Okay, Colossus Juggernaut needed extra hands just to put down Xemnu. Okay. One time in the comics, beats Hulk. Okay. One time in the like old school comics, he beats Hulk at one point. And the second time they meet up, it's a stalemate, it's a tie. But in the first one, from my understanding, Xemnu beat Hulk. Alright, so the end game to this one. Let's get real, guys. Xemnu, he goes against the Hulk, so strength-wise, if Gorilla Grodd and Xemnu get up close to each other, I gotta think that Xemnu is gonna overpower Gorilla Grodd. Gorilla Grodd is super strong, but Xemnu is really strong. He goes toe-to-toe with the Hulk every now and then. So you can't dismiss his strength in that essence. Now, as far as, telepathy, or any telekinesis in general or anything like that, I gotta give it to Xemnu because he has more rage. He can range in his abilities. He can go through he can mind control you through a TV. He can actually not only control humans, not only control aliens, not only control super beings, he can also control mechanical things. Okay, so with that extra juice or that ability with range-wise, that means he can actually kind of slow down Gorilla Grodd if he needs to catch his breath at any point in time. He can also get him probably from like a sneak attack. Like he could probably get another creature or another alien or another human to come and attack him from behind while he's, you know, if he's like, he wants to catch him off guard, he could do that. Like Gorilla Grodd would have to try to keep his focus in all different angles if he has surprises attacks coming every now and then, you know? All right, so a couple other things. Xemnu, I don't think Gorilla Grodd's going to have any technology that would be able to counter-maneuver Xemnu, because obviously Xemnu is probably far more advanced since he has alien technology in his tool belt. Okay, so let's talk about the fact that Xemnu can also mind control Gorilla Grodd, because he's also still an animal, so there's still that possibility to do something like that if he needs to. And let's get real, height-wise, I mean, size, there's no comparison. I mean, Xemnu is a lot bigger than Gorilla Grodd, so he's obviously gonna, I mean, Gorilla Grodd's used to like facing characters that are about at the same height level, but not like gigantic characters. And Xemnu in this essence is a gigantic character. So let me just sum it all down. Strength wise, he's gonna overpower him up close from a distance, regardless of what it is. Xemnu's gonna overpower him. Mind control wise, Xemnu clearly has much more of an ability in range wise to take the advantage more than Gorilla Grodd would. And he uses his telepathic abilities, I think, a lot more maybe in this instance. And the last thing being is that he obviously can conjure any aliens or anything like that to come and rescue him if he needs to catch his breath. So with all of these things put together, I gotta say Gorilla Grodd doesn't stand a chance.
For my finishing move!
I'll be representing DC Comics Gorilla Grodd.
It's all the same to you. I'd rather snap your neck with my bare hands.
Alright guys, brief origin story time. So, a spaceship crash lands on Earth. Nobody knows what's in it, it just happens to have an empty ship. During that time, you know, Barry Allen gets a phone call from a friend of his saying that, hey, I need your help to clear my name. Apparently some strange ape or gorilla things are happening recently, and they're blaming me because I wear a gorilla costume when my performance. So Barry says, all right, I'll help you out, brother. And Barry Allen, if you don't already know, is just the persona that he does as a regular day-to-day person, but as his costume or as his hero character name is The Flash. Anyways, getting back to it. Surprisingly, the gorilla that they were talking about wasn't the guy. It was actually another gorilla that came from the spacecraft. So this gorilla was looking for someone. He finally finds this gorilla, the other gorilla, that he was finding his own kind. So he finds this other gorilla, and you know, he telepathically talks to this gorilla. And this gorilla was in the circus, locked in cages. He asks this gorilla for all the knowledge, so that way he could use the knowledge to defeat the enemies here on Earth. At least they want to conquer the planet. Eventually, he gets all the information, and then he leaves to go give it to his people, or to his apes kind. He goes to this place called Gorilla City, a little island somewhere on Earth, and you know, is about to form the plot to destroy everyone on Earth. Luckily, the Flash apprehends him and catches him before he does anything. But yeah, that's pretty much the brief origin story of Gorilla Grodd. Okay, powers, ability, and feats. Let's get into it, shall we? Gorilla physiology: fangs, superhuman durability, superhuman strength, telepathy, animal control, mind transference, psychic wave bolts, thought sensing, telekinesis possibly, molecular reconstruction, energy projection, force field. He has a genius intellect. Grodd is extremely intelligent with the knowledge of technology beyond the development of human civilization. So let's just get real with that. He's an expert in combat. So here's a couple of feats I've mentioned before in some other previous episodes. Isn't easy to knock out Wonder Woman and couldn't put him down, and neither could the Flash, and had to use a supersonic mega punch just to put the big guy down. Knocked out Darkseid's eldest son. That was pretty impressive. And if you don't know Darkseid, he's one of the new gods. Beat the crap out of Geoforce. You gotta look up who Geoforce is, because that's an impressive feat. Took on Wally West, and Wally West is known hands down as the fastest Flash ever to exist. Probably the fastest man alive, in real sense. He stopped the battle by using his mind control to make them think that they were too tired to fight anymore. That's crazy. He fought, it was not just some regular, it was superpower beings and stuff like that. He managed to get them to think that they were too tired to fight. So they stopped fighting. It's crazy. Was able to absorb Martian Manhunter's mind, which means he can grow stronger with each mind he obtains. Has the Speed Force granted him to immense strength and speed. Let's not forget that. Defeated Superman by making him think he had kryptonite in his hands. Okay, he made him think he had it, using his mind powers to make him believe that there's kryptonite in his hands. Held the forces back of the Green Lantern ring. Okay, this is interesting. Steel Force is known as a universal ending power. Okay, also with this power was able to control an army of cosmic beings. Yeah. Okay, so the end game for Gorilla Grodd in this one. This is how I see Gorilla Grodd winning this, and this might likely happen. I think Xemnu comes for Gorilla Grodd in his turf, and if he does come to Gorilla Grodd in his turf, that's a bad call. Gorilla Grodd has advanced technology, so much so that he probably has a device for telepaths or anything that might come his way in preparation. So in his turf, Gorilla Grodd has much more of an uphill advantage in this essence. Now, let's talk about mind control situations. Xemnu is incredibly strong when it comes to mind control. He's used it probably more. Actually, I would say they're equally using it. But I would say Gorilla Grodd has been able to scare Martian Manhunter out of his mind. And he's been able to make Superman believe that he had kryptonite in his hands, even though he didn't physically have anything. So I think with those two mind control abilities of Feats, I think it's just safe to say that Gorilla Grodd would scare Xemnu out of his mind. So there wouldn't be a really great strategy. Regardless, if he didn't have the device, he'd still be able to probably push him out of his thoughts. Okay, now defense-wise, Gorilla Grodd I think is prepared. He probably has a shield device invented in order to for any kind of situation arises. If there was a whole army coming against him, if Xemnu decides to bring an army on him, Gorilla Grodd might be able to have other animals join his side, and it'd be like a back and forth, like keeping them away from each other. Like these animals or whatever creatures would keep fighting back and forth to protect Gorilla Grodd and Xemnu. So I don't think they're going to equally, one's going to overpower one in mindset wise. I think that Gorilla Grodd, with the Steel Force in him, I think still has a very good chance of probably overpowering Xemnu in that essence. Now, why do I think he would have the shield, a force field ready for any situations like this? If any Xemnu decides to bring an army with him or bring any kind of creatures at him. Yeah, well, let's get real. Gorilla Grodd was able to invent a device to make himself even smarter than he already is. So if he was able to do something like that, even at his regular base of brain functionality, and now he's at his top gear level, I gotta think he's been preparing for years for any kind of home field attack. On top of that, Gorilla Grodd was able to absorb another person's mind controlling abilities or powers. So I gotta think that he would be able to probably absorb Xemnu and probably juice him up. In the comics, it seems like Xemnu needs juice in order to kind of stay afloat. At least in the beginning of his origin stories, he needed to be juiced up in order to kind of be able to do stuff. But I do believe that Gorilla Grodd could probably juice him out of his mind, given enough time and given enough, push. Like if he's been attacked a couple times and a lot of things thrown at him, I think Xemnu would be weak in some situations at that moment where Gorilla Grodd could execute quickly if he needs to. All right, so I'm going to talk about the Steel Force and the Speed Force, okay? Because those are both things Gorilla Grodd did possess at one point in the comic, so I think he can use this in the fight. The Speed Force gives him the ability to dodge as much as he needs to. Whatever Xemnu decides to throw, a swing or any kind of object, Gorilla Grodd will be able to dodge it, no problems there. And also it gives him a little boost in the strength, so it might be able to kind of throw a couple swings at Xemnu that might put a little hurt into Xemnu's body. And as far as the Steel Force is able to control cosmic level beings. If it was able to control almost an entire planet of cosmic level characters, I do believe it could probably control Xemnu, or it would control any counter maneuvers that Xemnu decides to bring. If he decided to bring any other aliens from another planet to come through and help him out, I think Gorilla Grodd could overpower them in that essence. But also, let's get real. How long is it going to take for aliens to come through? Unless those aliens are able to telepathically or teleport magically or with some kind of power ability with that, then I don't see that happening. But even so, Gorilla Grodd would still be able to, with his Steel Force, to mind control them and maybe have them switch into his advantage. All right, so given Gorilla Grodd's ability to dodge any counter moves that it would come his way, given the fact that he has a Steel Force to mind control any counter maneuvers that Xemnu might bring at him to kind of catch his breath, I gotta say, at some point, Gorilla Grodd would be, because let's get real, Xemnu might use a force field to protect himself, but Gorilla Grodd not only can physically throw something at somebody, he can also telepathically or telekinesically wise throw something with tons of weight on it, just with his own mind. So using his physical strength along with his mind in order to toss tons of objects right at him, along with the ability to dodge with the speed force, along with the steel force to counter maneuver any kind of mind control Xemnu might use for backup, I gotta say Gorilla Grodd with his intellect has got this one in the bag. As always, No Press fam, it's not up to me, and it's not up to my boy Biggs. It's up to you guys. If you guys liked my argument, you know what you can do? You can hashtag Xemnu. And if you like my argument, you know what you can do? You can hashtag Gorilla Grodd. And as always, No Press fam, we really appreciate you guys. Catch you guys later. Peace.